This is day one of a shower renovation. I'm not doing the whole bathroom. All I'm doing is the shower specifically. You know, it's a nice vanity, it's a nice closet area off to the side, garden tub, which most people don't use anyway. Nice fixtures and stuff like that. I think this house is about 3 years old. I'm going to be saving the shower fixture proper. All of that stuff is getting saved. I'm not throwing that away and plumbing in anything else. This is going to be a lineal drain that goes on the back. So the buildup will start up here. The curb will remain, although I'll bump it out. Anytime I give an estimate, anytime I come into a house, normally it has to do with one of the, what I call plastic or fiberglass shower. They are finite. They are a 3x4 normally, plastic pan, fiberglass pan if you will, or a fiberglass shower, and that's finite. But there's usually room at a closet, there's usually room before the bathroom door to bump out a shower further than what it currently is, which this is a pretty good size shower already. So I don't have a problem with this size of the shower, but for resale purposes, there's really no point to not bump it out. It's almost always I'm able to get another 3 or 4 or 5 square feet. In this case, I'll get probably 3 square feet by bumping the curb out to the edge here, which I think we're going to end up doing, which is a good idea. The curb itself is probably 4 inches on the inside from the curb top down to the bottom. That's going to be up a lot higher because my customer wants a lineal drain in the back, and I'm not going to place it in the very back. It's going to be offset probably about 2 inches or so. So the lineal drain, I think, will go from here to about there. It won't encompass the whole wall, and that'll give me an ability to slope my tile that little 2 inches or so down into the drain, and then this will incrementally get sloped down until it ends up at the bottom. This is your Achilles heel. Shower walls are never falling off. Tile is never falling off with shower walls. I'm not seeing a lot of damage. I don't get called when people have problems with that. It just doesn't exist. But shower pans, yes. And in this case, there's no leak. There's nothing going on that I know of. I don't remember. I think this is just a renovation. But if there's any damage or if there's anything that I have to mitigate, then I will point that out once I take out the pan material. Once all this stuff is all gone and out in my truck, that's when I begin the process of doing the build back. Start getting all the material from Home Depot that I need to make all this back happen. And then my customer's already gotten the tile, so I have to go pick that up also. So I'm going to get started on this. It's going to look really sharp when I'm done. It's going to be a battleship gray type of material. I think the material is downstairs. I'll show that to you so you have a little heads up on what the final process will look like. So if there's anything you can extrapolate, any of this information is helpful to you, then I've done my job. As I'm taking all this stuff out, it dawned on me there's a little trick you can use. Usually these pieces has a finish on it, and because of that finish, I don't want to put pliers on there, right there, in order to unscrew this. Lefty loosey, righty tightsy. And sometimes they're hand tight to where I can turn it, but sometimes they're not. And this would go in reverse if you were putting one on too. You get some channel locks with some rubber handle, and you can actually put it in there and then turn it to the left. And that one's pretty tight, but in the end, you'll get it off unscathed. And you could do, as I said, the reverse to put one back on so you don't ruin the finish. I'm covering up the information on the receipt here because it's need to know information. This is a battleship gray, very, very smooth, slick tile that's even polished on the edge, which I don't recall if I've ever seen that they actually did the edge same as they did the top. Very sharp. I like it. This is a floor tile, 2x2. Same as basically what I have in there already, except that it exactly matches this other tile. In fact, it's also polished on the edge. When I say polished, I don't mean literally. Figuratively speaking, there's a glaze on there on the edge of both of those tiles. So this is going to be on the wall tile. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's going vertically instead of horizontally. Staggered in half all the way to the ceiling, I think. This is going to be the floor tile, obviously. And I think he's looking to do this for the back of the niche, which will actually match up very well to that. And I do like it. So yeah, most likely this will be the back of the niche. That's what it's going to look like. That's a little preview. And obviously, the last video you will see it complete like that. So I have all the walls off. Tiles didn't pop off like I thought they would. The guy set the tiles pretty well. The point being, this, as you saw before, this was not too bad. Builder's grade steel type of tile, meaning that is a glazed clay, which is all it is. It costs probably, I don't know, $1 to $1.20 a square foot, which isn't a whole lot when it comes to tile. Maybe less than that. It's just clay material with a glaze on it, which is why I don't like it. It's also on this floor, so if I ever dropped, or the homeowner ever dropped one little thing to chip this tile, you would be looking at brown, and then you would have to get some touch-up paint. That's the reason I don't like it. They use Dent Shield. Dent Shield is a waterproofer BackerBoard. It's waterproofed on the back side and the front, and you can't see the front because all the tiles stuck to it. And I like Dent Shield. It's just hard to come by here, and it's a little more pricey, but it's basically gypsum with a waterproofer on the front and the back, as I said. The build was pretty good. You know, look how far the liner went up. That's a good part of 14, 15 inches, and then probably about 20 inches on the back. So, you know, they went up really, really high with the pan liner, which is a good thing. Overall, it's not a bad job. I'm going to be building a niche on that wall, so I'm going to have to cut that PEX and transition over and then up and then back around for the shower head, because there's going to be a niche going across that wall. So I'm going to have to deal with that eventually. So getting to the critique portion, so I gave the guy props. Again, drywall screws, don't have a problem with that. You know, there was never any damage. There's never any damage on walls. I don't really, you know, the waterproofing thing is going crazy now. But there's never damage on the walls. But, as you can clearly see, there's a rusted nail head right there. And why is there a rusted nail head and another rusted nail head? Because time and time and again, on almost every video I do of one of these showers, you see the BackerBoard that is inside the shower pan. The shower pan material is wet. I don't even need my moisture meter. Look at all that moisture that's in there. And so some people would say, oh, that's because there's no pre-slope. No. That water would have wicked over to that end anyway. It would never got to the mortar and down to the drain. But regardless, that's what happens when you put your board inside there. The board wicks up water. And even this is waterproof on the front and the back, but not the edge. And so, and that's tile, actually. But there was BackerBoard back here, along with the tile, which is kind of weird. So they did the shower pan floor last instead of first. And so, I don't know if I can show you. No, I can't show you. Those pieces are too heavy. But guaranteed the BackerBoard has wicked up water. Probably, well, we know at least up to there, although that could be just moisture. But that's a big mistake that experienced tile guys, especially one in particular that keeps on talking about, you can do that. You can put a hardy backer, or you can put a cement board in there and it's okay. No, it's not okay. You know, I've taken out every board imaginable that has been embedded into the pan, and every board imaginable has wicking action. I think the last one I took out was hardy backer, and it wicked all the way up to this point here, and when I turned it over it had mold and mildew on the back of it. So that's a myth, and I wish that people would stop saying stuff like that. Anyway, there's definite water content in here, and when I take out this pan, because there's so much water content, it's going to be relatively easy to take out. It's going to chop up pretty good into pieces. But yeah, that's a mistake that I see, and you know, otherwise the guy did a pretty good job. I'm glad that he went to the extra effort that he went to use dent shield, and that I mean, you know, there's a lot of things done right, but then you do these few small things down this area wrong, and it kind of negates all the good stuff, because this pan would have failed. Again, 3 years old, not too bad, but another 5 years, another 8 years, 10 years from now, the pan would either start cracking because of all the water content in there, or the mortar mix would turn back to sand and the tile would start coming off of the surface. And then my customer, if I were coming here 8 years from now, would say, why can't I scoop up sand in my hand? Because you had mortar mix, which is basically all sand with cement in it also. And all the chemicals and water, all that stuff breaks down that cement product, and that's what happens. Don't put your BackerBoard inside of there. Please, guys, don't do that. I know most of my subscribers are DIYers and not professionals, but if you're a tile guy, quit putting your BackerBoard in there. That just, it's illogical. It makes no sense.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Hey! Stop!
Stop it! Stop it!
One other thing while I'm tearing out this pan. The pan liner went all the way over the curb. Yay, great, no problem. They perforated the pan liner with really long nails too. Those are like 1.5 inch, almost 2-inch nails. Totally unnecessary, because all you're ultimately doing is putting the BackerBoard on, and you don't need this big giant nail to do that for a 1/2 inch BackerBoard. So they used Durarock, but same mistake. They set the Durarock inside of the pan, like I showed you over there, and that beget rust, and that beget wicking. And I guarantee if I put my moisture, well, I can feel it. This is wet, and it would have eventually transferred to this piece of Durarock, transferred to that piece of Durarock, and it would have rotted out the floor. And again, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, they would have a leak in their ceiling, and I could guarantee that they're going to call a plumber because they think the drain's leaking, and it's not. The plumber will tear out the ceiling downstairs, say, no, your drain's not leaking. Somebody will call me, they'll say, why is my shower leaking? And I'll say, because you either have a knee wall where it's failed, a bench where it's failed, or a curb. And this is usually a number 1 where there's a failure. So the leak could be way over there on the ceiling, but it doesn't matter. It's just wicked into that plywood, and it took a long time for it to wick into that plywood and eventually find its path of least resistance, go through the ceiling, and then people freak out, I have a leaky shower pan. This is the reason why. They didn't waterproof anything. They set, just taking the wallboard and not having it touch the pan material would save them in the future if this had gone into the future. Just doing that one thing alone. The fact that they didn't waterproof it, kind of incidental. I just feel very adamant about making sure that I mitigate any issue, and this is how I learned how to do what I do, by watching other people's mistakes time and time and again. And this is a biggie. This is very, very atypical. The nail is already rusted out. Not rusted out completely, but you know, like I said, another 8-10 years from now, there would be nothing left of those nails. And so this is kind of why I show what I show. And when people say I'm negative on my videos, it's usually contractors who are like, you know, that I don't know, maybe they don't want me to do a video of their job, but this is for the benefit of the homeowner who doesn't have a clue, who's even hiring somebody to get something done. And if you see your guy do something like this, tell him not to do it. It's absolutely illogical. In fact, this curb, look at this. This curb should have been, this curb's barely anchored in there. Yeah. I think this might illustrate a little better what I'm talking about. This is a wet pan, which I knew it would be. The BackerBoard, 4.5 inches of BackerBoard inside of the pan, surrounded by 3 inches of wet material. Why? Somebody explain to me why this is a good idea. Somebody explain to me, if you're still doing this, why are you still doing this? I would like to know, because it's totally illogical. Like, why? Why would you do this? Interesting. About the size of a $50 is how much room you have down there. Why? Because especially in new construction, they're pouring all their thin set and their mortar and all this junk down the drain, which I don't really understand. So this is all mortar and thin set that they just poured down there. I thought it'd be okay. That should be a 2-inch opening drain, and it's not, because of all this garbage. So if your drain starts backing up in your shower, you might want to take a look at that. Again, the pan liner was cut in a circle, which I never do. I think it's ridiculous. Feels like there's some junk down there. I don't feel any caulking. Yeah, this shower would have failed eventually, as soon as it backed up a few times. Pretty nasty stuff. A couple hours later, I am done with the tear out portion of this, which is always nice, because now I can get started on building it back. And nice scabbing going on with 2x6 on the side for the shower door to go back in again. Yeah, so put a new drain in, move that in the back over there, prepare some plywood, get a niche put in there, do some plumbing, and yeah, move it along. Normally it's really nasty and cold and rainy all day long. Normally I would go ahead and get all the material now and have it ready for me tomorrow, which I still have time to do, but I'm not going to do it in all this rain. So I will do that tomorrow. And here is the final product about 2 weeks later. Got the Schluter trim curb, got the Schluter trim niche, got the Schluter trim edges, got a lineal drain with tile on top of it, and a lot of tile, a lot of work, big shower. Well, it's a tall shower anyway, but yeah, that's the final result. And yeah, it's a lot of work, but yeah, I like the glass though. That's really sharp. I think that's a good accent to the final. I don't think it'll look good with just a 2x2 square. But yeah, I'm out of here finally and on to the next job. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're gonna call me for advice, please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post videos. And thank you very much for your support.